Keep that up and I'll send you to bed without supper.
Well, Kyle?
Yes, Garrett?
You know, I was worried it was going to be as simple as Elidibus just being in Ardbert's body, and that literally is the simplest thing in this entire patch.
Oh, you said I was wrong. You said I was wrong.
That's not Ardbert.
I think it's Ardbert's body. I think Elidibus got him out of cold storage. I was right.
Yes, you were right. But I also was like deep down afraid that was going to be it, because I'm like, I already kind of think Elidibus is just kind of like whatever villain they need him to be. I have no idea who the character of Elidibus is, because it seems to change with the wind.
His might encroaches upon the realm of gods.
And expansion, really. It kind of just, Elidibus is a different character like every expansion. And for the entire current expansion, he's actually just been Xenos and not Elidibus.
True, but they nailed the voice actor, and now we know he's nuts.
Very well. Let us forego this pretense.
So it all works out. He's completely nuts.
I wasn't trying to skirt you being right. You were right. But I was more dealing with my inner turmoil and concerns about Emmett's gone and now Elidibus steps up, and I thought I was going to be bored, and huzzah, I'm not bored. I'm not bored. Elidibus has one of the best voice actors in this game, full of very good voice actors.
The weight and tiredness of the portrayal really gives it a otherworldly sense.
Through your time in Emmett Selk's imitation of our home, I dare say you have gained a better understanding of my role since last we met.
He's beyond our understanding. Even if he's...
You know what's truly beyond my understanding is how he can even come close to pulling off Ardbert's voice when that's his real voice.
Well, he's using magic. I mean, he also summoned a star shower illusion. They've got magics. They've got creation magics. He can make whatever he wants.
Nope, my headcanon is he has to actually change his real voice to sound like Ardbert, and he just happens to be a hell of an impressionist. They're all drama kids, every single one of them.
Yeah, they're all trying to out-dramatic each other. Certainly the Asians. They are all equally dramatic.
Oh, they're so extra.
When you live forever, you get a little eccentric. I love this patch. This is my favorite patch we've ever done so far. Like, outside of like climaxes, which are definitely their own bag, the pacing of this patch was beautiful. There was so much ebb and flow. There was so much rev and go. We were always shifting gears every time we got really going fast. And I love that. The pacing, the intrigue, even our side plots with Vaylor and Vonard, like they all came together and made this beautiful, confusing on purpose tapestry that is 5.2.
I rather enjoyed it as well, and there wasn't as someone who streams this game too, and is subject to a lot of vibrations ahead of time of anything you and I decide we're going to go do, because we schedule our streams ahead of time. Subscribe to the channel, by the way. But before we move on, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss our live streams. Oh, what? What? Why isn't this voice acted?
What about this room stops voice acting from happening?
You're here, you're watching the video for 5.2. Well, that means 5.3 is almost right around the corner. If you're not in the know of how we schedule our MSQ playthroughs, when we get to
the patch content,
we do all of the patch content once we played through that MSQ patch. So we did 5.1, we then went and did the Nier raid, for example. So we still, at the time of recording this, have to do Eden raid, the first weapon trial, and we're gonna go enter Boja. But that means we have a schedule for you. We can tell you right now, we're gonna be streaming 5.3 on May 4th. So May the 4th be MSQ. And you can see what we're about to do. And anytime we put up a MSQ patch stream, I can kind of get the temperature of the room. And there wasn't really any hype for 5.2. There also wasn't much hype for 5.1. To me, 5.1 was extremely slow, but all the 0.1 patches are, and I liked it more kind of after the fact when I kind of, to me, came to the realization that they were giving us like a closing of the book on where we started in Shadowbringers, especially with the twins. Like in retrospect and realizing that, I thought that was really cool. In the moment, I was like, okay, we're doing 0.1 stuff. And then 5.2 to me was like absolutely 110% off to the races. And so it was kind of 5.1 in reverse. Where 5.1 in the moment, I was like, not my favorite patch. And then after the fact, I kind of found some cool things I liked. Here, in the moment, I felt while we were streaming it that this was going a mile a minute. And then when I went back to review, I realized, it actually kind of hits the brakes quite a few times. Like our buddy, our Elidibus shows up. I'm just going to call him Fobert. Fobert shows up and you're like, holy shit, we're off to the And then it's like, well, no, actually, we're going to go back to Raktika for a minute and we're going to do a solo duty that's like cute, but
I love that thing. That was the most classic RPG this game has ever done. Perfect. Fight a monster, meet the friends, do the.
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm saying that from the purposes of the type of videos that we make about the MSQ, which is analyzing the narrative and kind of having a discussion between friends about what we liked, what we didn't like, where we think things are going for the entertainment of all of those who knows where it's going. I didn't have a lot to say about Raktika. Thought it was a cute aside. I'd love to sit down and have a long-winded conversation with you about how poor Runar got friend-zoned like a motherfucker. But in terms of the grander narrative of Final Fantasy XIV, I don't have a lot to say about it. And so I was surprised as I went back through. I was like, oh yeah, we kind of just keep taking breaks. And then we go see the Ondo, and that kind of feels like it's like, okay, oh no, hold on. Nope. I thought we were doing Ascian Ruins. We are eventually, but first we got to do some Ondo stuff. And a really cool dungeon. But like all of the dungeon's really more of an Ondo dungeon that just happens to be taking place in Amoratine Ruins, and you don't really get the lore bomb until the very end.
It's so purposeful. Y'shtola is our delay mechanic here. Repeatedly throughout this, they say,
It would seem I have entered the realm of pure speculation.
I'm not going to make any predictions. Well, I'm not ready. Or I need to keep studying this. Or I'll catch up with you later.
And yet, they legitimately make a prediction and then call into question their own prediction.
Right, and saying that, well, I'm a scientist, not a prediction machine, so what am I even doing here? First of all,
the Empire is developing a new Ultima weapon.
I would have never, if I was playing all by myself off stream, I would have never gotten through this patch, because I would have immediately gone off with Gaius. That's what I would have done. He was like, talk to me later about this awesome thing I want to show you. I'm there. That's where I would have gone. What side quest? Immediately.
Are you saying you're looking forward to whatever trials lay ahead with Gaius?
And I've been told it's going to be my jam, so of course I'm really excited. Can you imagine? This comes out February 18th, 2020, and you have to wait all the way to August 11th to have any continuation of this.
I absolutely can, because it didn't matter what game you were playing, things kind of sucked in 2020.
Yes, and all things slowed down dramatically. It's an intensely in-between patch that has some wonderful moments. And even our jokiest of joke moment has the music doesn't change either. Like, it just stays jolly. Poor Oriange can't walk on water because he can't swim, or at least he's trying to avoid learning how to swim. And Thancred helps him out, and they both get headaches. But the music's just jollying along. We know what's going on. They're dying. They're literally dying.
They legitimately do. They are Marty McFly on stage.
But no big deal. We'll see what happens later.
I guess, right? Right? They have to survive, right? Because like Endwalker. It's not called Everyone's Dead Walker.
It is you who must rise. You who must become the new warriors of light!
I'd like to just jump straight to Elidibus / Ardbert. What is it? What's the corpse comedy?
Weekend at Bernie's?
Yeah, Weekend at Bernie's. Let's I want to jump straight to Elidibus with Ardbert's body a la Weekend at Bernie's. To me, the crux of 5.2, it's Elidibus. It's all Elidibus. There's a lot of interesting tidbits in throughout. But the overarching importance of this patch is all of the Elidibus-related reveals, including Ardbert just showing up and us essentially perfectly helping Elidibus enact whatever his plan is. We're still not sure. But we choose the perfect time to start extolling the virtues of the Warriors of Light to the denizens of the Crystarium, and who was just like clearly must have just been listening, just waiting for the perfect time for a dramatic entrance. And it just, kicks the, I would say door in, but there's no door where Ardbert enters, but Elidibus in Ardbert's body just waltzes in and agrees with us. Like, there's a mutual standoff of we can't smack talk each other going on here. I'm still unsure of what Elidibus' plan is, but when he shows up for the first time in Ardbert's body to the Crystarium, he's not refuting anything we say, and we realize, and the Scions realize, that we can't refute anything that Elidibus in Ardbert's body is saying. The masses love us both, and to try and turn them against one another would just be a fool's errand.
I blame Alphino. He was the one standing in the middle of that plaza again, being like,
This should go a long way towards clearing the air.
everything's gonna be all right. Oh, that was great. Great job, everybody. Stop it. You're ruining everything. My real issue with this whole plan is this is how you get primals. This is literally how you get primals. Let's go preach to everybody. And let's pour our faith, and it's a bad idea. We are also casually summoning primals to kill them to make lakes in Eden. So the whole primal lore is really going off the rails right now. But this is how you get primals.
There's still history, Kyle. You go out to the Heaven's Ward Zone and you got a statue of the first Azure Dragoon. We're not summoning Azure Dragoon primals. You can still celebrate your history, celebrate the heroes that came before you.
We kind of did, though. We did the Knights 12 were literally primals based off the faith that the people had poured into the system.
Whose being is sustained by a millennium of fervent prayer.
That's not the Azure Dragoon, though.
This is how you get primals.
The first in general doesn't really seem to have a primal problem, though. They had a light warden problem. They had a light problem. They had a light tsunami problem. They weren't really having issues with primals. If you go to Eden Raid, then you find out that there is a primal threat, but it's not part of like mainland first concerns.
They just didn't have the spare time for it. Now they do. That's why they're researching the Warriors.
It's a world of chronically depressed people because there's no hope. Their world is on the verge of dying. So there's no hope. There's no worship to pour into anything.
And now they have that spare time, and it's starting the ball rolling.
Yes, but anyway, how did you feel about this whole thing? Ferbert rolling up and being like, "Yes. Aren't I great? Everything the Warrior of Darkness just said is it's just wonderful. I really appreciate the help there, good buddy. However, if y'all haven't noticed, they're going to leave. So you should probably protect yourselves. You should probably become your own Warriors of Light."
I mean, it's a great point because we are going to leave. The expansion's going to be over. We are leaving. It was an excellent point. It was excellent bad guy logic. It's very like Gotham politics up in here right now.
Batman?
Yeah, like Joker's running for mayor and everyone's okay with it because they're rehabilitated or something like that.
Are you going to let this vigilante protect you? Protect yourselves, Gotham.
Yeah, all right. It's very much that energy. Oriange's like, let's go lie about it in another room. I'm like, stop it. You should have learned this lesson already, but okay, you're right. Let's have a conversation in private.
I'm all on board Oriange in this patch. Oriange is doing the smart stuff. Like, he gets it. He's like, we can't just go at him here in the public square. It would go poorly. And he's right.
It's true.
He's right. I mean, Elidibus was smart enough to know that the path was not direct. You don't just go against us. He's a maniacal jazz, Kyle. He's vibing with the room.
Like the music in the dungeon. That was excellent, by the way.
Oh, yes, it was very good. It went places.
Oriange lore-splains us, but it's all quite helpful with the passage of time. A lot has happened in this game so far, including that time he was in the big secret library talking with Elidibus, apparently riding a body, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to see him. Oriange breaks down several things. The cardinal virtues and why Ardbert isn't like them, but the body must have been exhumed all the same. Ascians can't be seen without bodies. that some people must be able to resist possession, such as Heidelin's Chosen, perhaps. Otherwise, why wouldn't Elidibus just mind control the Warrior of Light, or the Warrior of Darkness in this case? That would be even better than showing up as Ardbert.
Okay, so you're bringing up the one line that, like, annoyed me. That complicates this narrative.
It does complicate, because the necklace thing.
Why even bring it up? Why, literally, Kyle, I'm asking you, why did Oriange even bring this up? Even mention this?
My belief is we're going to fundamentally change what we know about the Ascians' body-riding powers. And this is our foot in the door. Because we have this whole business with the necklace for Thancred. To our knowledge, playing through the game to this point, it allowed La Habrea to possess Thancred, who was in his own body. But now we're hearing from the community that the necklace was actually a get-out-of-jail-free card, so La Habrea could move out quicker if things went wrong.
We're also corrected that it's more, what's important is the crystal in the necklace, not the necklace itself.
Yeah, I'm not that concerned that it could have been earrings, right? It could have been a belly button piercing.
A toe ring. They were big in the 90s.
I bet Thancred has a rocking set of abs.
We brought chokers back. Where's the toe rings, Kyle? But point being is that up until this point, all the bodies we have seen Elidibus ride that are of import were previously dead. Xenos died, Elidibus took his body. Ardbert died, Elidibus took his body.
Clones might be soulless.
Currently not alive clones are, for all intents and purposes, a dead body.
Right.
Again, I ask, why is Oriange even bringing this up? Only one living person so far in this game has been taken over by an Ascian. It's Thancred, and there was extenuating circumstances involved.
If it wasn't for the necklace, we could say that there was some sort of resistance, your personal willpower, the protection of Heidelin, all these things come into play to stop you from being possessed. If we go with something along the lines of like Void Scent and the Black Mage lore, there really aren't any rules. It's just get possessed, son. Like, it just happens. You know, demon style, succubus style, whatever you want to call it. I thought Ascians worked on a different set of rules, which we are introducing. This was very heavy-handed by Oriange echoing off of Y'shtola, and it prompts them to investigate further.
But not actually echoing off of them. Get it? Because people getting the echo is really a major part of this patch.
It's true. It's true. I love that line. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but I love that line.
And an echo it is of a symphony.
In such vessels did the ancients preserve concepts, ideal forms to be drawn upon in the act of creation.
Well, speaking of jazz, there was quite the revelation in the Anamnesis-oniter, which, by the way, Kyle, I know it's thrilling. I opened a dictionary and looked up anamnesis.
Okay.
It means the remembering of things from a supposed previous existence.
Wow, that's a little on the nose.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Not only are we visiting a seed bank, Titan AE if you enjoy that movie. It's not great, but enjoy it. It is a depository. It is preserved concepts, a bunch of crystals hanging out, hard drive style, floppy disks, storing Amortine business.
But apparently also decided to have meetings where they colluded in silence about turning against Zodiark and decided, hey, let's record the whole thing.
Yeah, you know, for posterity. I mean, they also recorded, a Cyclops?
The Cyclops was one of their recorded ideas, right? And made manifest. Not unlike the optional dungeon, the other Oniter we did a run of.
I love this dungeon. The entrance on the back of Bismarck was really cool.
Yes, it was. It was also just cool to see how Bismarck worked, because we didn't get to see like the air bubble around Bismarck when we originally went down to the Tempest. We just kind of show up there, but now we're like fighting inside it. You can see you're in like a bubble force field underwater. I like how this game handles underwater stuff. It's really cool. But getting essentially to the end of this, because that's the major story revelations, is that we learned that there was a new Amortine that we never heard the name of before, called Venat.
Yeah, Venat. Well, I mean, they don't talk. They don't say the name. Alphino loves his French, so of course we're going to have Venat instead of Venat.
Well,
not Venat.
His last name is Levier. So yeah, what are you gonna do there?
And not Alpha Nod.
Yeah. Anyway, Vena apparently is the Immortine that then is eventually going to sacrifice themselves to become Hydaelyn. Yeah, they talk about becoming the heart of this summon. I need a name, by the way, for the beings that are Zodiark and Hydaelyn. I know they've been likened to primals, but they're like extra super special primals.
Like elder primals.
Elder primals, yeah.
Greater primals.
So there's a lot of back and forth, and we get to see other Immortines express sorrow for Vena's sacrifice. And this is where we get to our first slew of probably wrong theories of the video, Kyle.
Oh, just now?
I mean, I'm reading into this. Are you reading into this?
What are you reading?
Vena makes all this a big deal about the form I take shall ever remain my choice. Is Vena the precursor to Minfilia? Is my thinking.
No, Vena's the heart of Hydaelyn. The primary sacrifice when you energize these greater primals. Just as we learn, Elidibus is the heart of Zodiark. Elidibus the title, not the man, not the Ardbert. The previous Elidibus was the lead sacrificee for Zodiark, which we've already talked about this. Gabu. Gabu was the heart of Titan when Titan was resummoned, which is why Titan was screaming about parents the whole time. So if you are the primary focus of the sacrifice, your will is drawn upon when you create the primal. So what Vena is saying here is that, don't worry, my heart will remain pure. My intention will not be corrupted. And I will take the form of something that can shackle Zodiark and maintain the equilibrium we're losing.
I don't think that's necessarily wrong, but my thinking is we haven't really stopped to question, like, where did Minfilia start? If Minfilia is this constantly reborn entity that eventually ends in Reen, is Minfilia also attached to an unsundered Immortine? And if that's true, is that also true of Elidibus? Is Elidibus actually something more than simply a paragon of the source? Is Elidibus also like if it's in my head, I'm like, ooh, wait, are we seeing like what would have been original Minfilia that then became Hydaelyn, and then Hydaelyn somehow projected herself into an actual human that just keeps getting reincarnated? And if that's true, has that also happened with Zodiark? And is Elidibus actually something more, and is actually some sort of humanoid manifestation of Zodiark?
Interesting. I don't think you're wrong to compare Ascians and what happened with the Word of the Mother, because they're kind of the same thing. Minfilia became a title, much as Elidibus is.
Yeah, they don't die, right? Except under extremely specific circumstances with the right tools, white auracite.
Or a sword. Or a sword full of light.
Or a sword full of light, yes.
All of this can be hand-waved away by Y'shtola's line, and yet something in that explanation rings false when she's talking about Elidibus. We're not supposed to know as the audience.
What?
To me, what reads false is that Elidibus is not a survivor of the Sundering, that would be too convenient, that Elidibus just happens to be, which it just calls into question the entire being of Elidibus as we know him. That's what I know is true. We're supposed to question who Elidibus is. Elidibus is not who we think Elidibus was. But what if, like, in a roundabout way, it is? I don't know. But I'm reeling from this, if you can't tell.
No, and when we found the aside conversation with Emmett, you grabbed onto that, the titles of office business, and here's Oriange saying it offhandedly during a Reedy scene, non-voice acted. And I don't know how they handle that, because if Elidibus was the heart of Zodiark, and we have an Elidibus running around, the title of office is given to those with merit. So this Elidibus must have been decent at his job, and at least somehow earning the Balance Keeper title. But that could be the big twist here. Merely that the title does not match the man. He's named Elidibus. He's supposed to have this office. He's not doing his job right.
Because I would assume you don't have shards if you're sacrificed, right?
Then how do we get the Minfilia you're talking about?
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying is, like, what if they're, like, technically not a survivor because they were successfully sacrificed, but then found some way to meddle in our affairs?
I agree. The clean magic lore would be if you're sacrificed, you are in the trap. You are forever a part of what you became, rather than sort of dying and splitting off from there. But we don't know why the Paragons of the Source didn't get sundered yet.
That's a major missing piece from this puzzle.
What we can say for sure is they're going for ancestral memory. Not only the name of the dungeon, but the star mural we saw there in the Ratika duty. They are pulling a nosebleed from Uncle from Another World. They are pulling on this thread. Ants, how do we know how to breathe? Like, it's one of these sort of things. Instinct, if you give people the lightest bit of remembrance of their former life, some of them can connect onto it and awaken. And that's a huge twist on how we've been perceiving not only Hydaelyn, our role as the Warrior of Light, but the crystal being picked up. And then a star shower, graphic playing ahead of you just kind of felt like, a GIF that would play when you go to a website or something in 2000. It just didn't seem all that important when we originally saw it starting the game. The crystal picking up part, the gift from Hydaelyn, seemed like the big deal. And we have reinforced that over and over again with all of our scenes with the Warriors of Darkness having their own crystals, going through all the role quests and them finding their crystals and becoming these Warriors of Light. And now we're counteracting that and saying you never needed a crystal of light in the first place to awaken, and not everybody does awaken at the same time. Not everybody in that square is suddenly a warrior of light, and certainly our scions did not awaken echoes in that moment.
I'm fairly certain I know why.
My guess is just that they're not physically there. Like that's just their brains.
Well, for the scions, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
For the people that were not awakened, they're not a fractured part of an original Amora team.
That's my theory too.
They don't have that memory. They have no memory. They're new life, as it were.
Which that is kind of covered in our end of 5.0, that the world belongs to those born new into it, as Hythlodeus was talking about. And that means there's like a finite amount of Amortine souls that can be dished out, and that's not absurd. And that really kind of gets into reincarnation and all that sort of business. So that's a perfectly fine beat if they want to explore that.
Yes. I still have questions about like lineage. Like, do you still have the memory if you're the offspring of a shard of an original Amoratine? Because we know the first is, at least since the wave of light, is essentially one generation is kaput. So it sure seems like there's a lot of people that are still shards of an Amoratine hanging out just in the Crystarium, for example.
You could say that those who gravitated towards guard work or adventuring have a higher chance of being from Amarot in the first place.
I mean, I think that if you go to work the most boring, dull DMVS job possible, you are more likely to be from Amarot.
I'm also theorizing that you had to see the star shower to have a memory of it. Now, we could say that it was a global catastrophe and it's showered everywhere. We only know, and they've only drawn direct connection to those who were star showered in Amarot. That's the image we saw.
I mean, I think that's exactly what they're telling us, because everyone saw the star shower, but not everyone got the echo from seeing it.
We might all be Amortines, but you wouldn't have seen the star shower, and only those people can be awakened using that memory.
I don't agree with that, but I see what you're saying.
I prefer your theory, too, where life is being born anew. If we pull from Minfilia, we can say it's a more classic kind of Buddha Last Airbender resurrection, where the second you die, you find a baby. And in your question there, does an Amortine having a baby make an echo available child? No, because it's the person that must die. There's no lineage to it.
I have a lot of questions about what's happening in a hereditary sense in a entirely sexless game.
Poor Runar. I already trust that the ending's going to be good. It's more about, can we get through this in a orderly fashion? How are we going to pull this off? I have no doubt that we're going to, kick Elidibus's ass and it's going to be awesome. That's a given. Whether or not he fights us himself or makes a primal out of everybody's faith or rides the primal made of everybody's faith, that's fine too. But this is a very, very heavy bit of lore. However, it does work in Minfilia, Gabu, the very beginning of the game. Like, it is tied. It is deeply connected with what they've been setting up. And in that way, I'm interested.
Same. I realize killing God is a trope in so many games, anime, movie, like fiction. Fiction loves killing God. But this is just a delightful, just like, this is the most epic like atheism I've ever seen. like Elidibus just shows up and is like, wait, I'm sorry, you thought the Echo was special? No, that's just Attention Kmart shoppers playing on repeat. Yep. It's just going and going and going. And like, to me, I loved it. I loved Orion J piecing that together. It's like, we used to think you were like chosen and special, and when in reality it's like that, it's just constantly playing. And to me, that's terrifying. I feel like we should be terrified by that revelation, that there's nothing special about it, that this deity has I'm a sci-fi fan, Kyle, and I know there's nothing more suspect than a repeating distress signal from a ship in the distance.
We never went as Warrior of Light, the Warrior of Light. We never went full cleric on this business. We're not spreading the will of Hydaelyn, but we are doing all we can and taking advantage of the power we have.
Yes.
Which is nothing in comparison to the original creation magics, or what Elidibus kind of nods at.
All right, I have one question before I move on. Is Elidibus just being a dick when he refutes Hydaelyn is a foe, or is there more to that? At the end of our scene here, post Star Shower, before Ardbert, Ascian teleports away in the middle of the square and everyone conveniently doesn't see it.
Yeah.
Elidibus, something about I think it was Orion J is like, why are you creating more foes, like, who are opposed to your, what you fight for, essentially? Why are you creating more Warriors of Light who are going to oppose Zodiark? And Elidibus goes,
Foe? You must be mistaken. As you see, I am a warrior of light. And together with my comrades in arms, I shall save the world. Just like you.
And at face value to me, that just reads as him being a contrarian. But is there more to it? I want them to make good on the fact that such a big deal was made of Elidibus keeping the balance between dark and light, of being an emissary, right? Because we haven't really seen anything. He's conniving in the shadows with Garlemald for the majority of the time we've spent. So to me, the game kept saying, no, he's pragmatic. He's playing both sides. He's here for balance. But in practice, to me, Elidibus seems no different than any other villain we've come across in Final Fantasy XIV, and now seems particularly villainous. And to me, in 5.2, if there's one thing that I'm kind of hung up on, it's the fact that Elidibus seems to now just be like, no, I'm here for what the Convocation wanted. I'm like, but since when? Like, you seem to be more pragmatic than the rest of them. You seem to kind of have your own ideas. And now you seem to just be carrying Emmett's torch? Why? Since when? For what reason?
I can only assume that he is hoping to restart the Calamity by making an imbalance of light. And that's what he means by it.
But I shall do so now, as is my duty, and return all to its proper course.
That's kind of where my head's going too, but again, it's like, that seems too simple.
It does seem a little too simple after all he's put us through.
Are we just going to undo what we just did? Like, is it that simple?
I have no doubt that we're going to get the answers to your question. My thought is, which is better? Finding out before we defeat him or after we defeat him? Because we're going to get that answer either way. And our Ascian confusion only grows. Because we get Dreamy Xenos. He's already been dreamy, but now he's dreaming.
He's dreamier, because, oh my god, the drip. The Xenos drip.
I'm a fan of the coat on the back look. It's really good.
You're a fan of the coat cape?
Yeah, coat cape. I mean,
dude,
coats are just blankets. They're just capes at the end of the day that we put arms in, that we snugified.
Xenos is full on like Zex Marquis from Gundam Wing at this point.
Yeah.
Rockin' hair, wonderful coat, high fashion.
It's a good look. It's a good chair.
In a vaguely Victorian fashion.
It's a good pose. But we have our white-robed figure say the line,
Admittedly, my knowledge is mostly second-hand, but if you are interested. I will gladly tell you the tale.
How did they get secondhand knowledge?
How is it mostly secondhand? Mostly
Right?
secondhand infers that there's a little bit of firsthand knowledge.
Because if they just started laying it out, then you would say, oh, that's an Ascian. I feel like White Robe figure is going to be our first window into that title exchange kind of area. And whoever that is a person who ascended to Ascian rather recently.
So they're either La Habrea or Emmet, because those are the two names we really know that would make us go,
which might not be possible because of the Paragon of the Source thing, but yes, that would have the most weight in the room, right? Or Igiorm or Nabriels, or what's his name? And the one other. There's one other that's shown up in cutscenes with
the one
an
other
end
has
name.
been named but doesn't seem important and isn't a Paragon of the Source.
It got kind of like the cloud hair going on in there. That's about it.
By the way, for our purposes, until this figure is unmasked, I'm going to refer to them as Evil Graha.
I think that's a good parallel to draw.
The hoods over the eyes, all you can see is the chin. They're advising our antithetical character. Xenos is kind of our diametrically opposed individual, right? So I get it's like evil Exarch. Also, I was correct, and there's nothing special about that robe. You can get it crafted.
Really?
And it's not even black and white. It's actually red and white. It's just a really, really dark red. And in the more muted Garlemald scenes, it kind of looks black and white.
Really? No, I don't believe that. It's all...
I confirmed it.
It looks like it has so much meaning. It's got the white robe and then like this fiery kind of split, like their soul is like, and they got the pointed boots that are all I would read into the outfit. Hi, Garth.
Hi, Car's Tale. How are you? It's feeling very, very Empire Strikes Backy. The Elidibus is winning. Like whatever Elidibus wants to do, it's working. We're still not sure what he's playing toward. Multiple Ultima weapons are heading for the shores of Eorzea, and the Scions are dying. They're straight up dying. In comical fashion, that's kind of cute because Urianger is trying to Jesus his ass over to Bismarck and he falls in the water, but they're dying.
Exarch's dying. The crystal's growing underneath that robe. He's trying to figure out if he has to use the blood or not, which probably is not healthy in his condition. I want to know what it was like for y'all in real time. You had to wait around for this. What was the community like? What was your patch schedule like? What were you doing in the meantime? Because that's a long time for answers.